And welcome everyone. Here we are in Star Station, observing this entire star station flying over top of the rest of the stars. This is of course the MSL Code S Semifinals, and we are in Game 3 in the series between the Red Terran here at the top left-hand corner, pyrO, and his infamous Blue Terran opponent down here, Apocalypse. So, very exciting first two set of games. Remember, this is a best of 5. We do have pyrO taking the first game and Apocalypse coming back and saying, I'm not going to be walked all over, and taking back game number 2. So far, both players have played quite well. We've seen different builds, I do believe, out of both of them at this point in time. Although one thing is consistent, Apocalypse really likes the economic SD placement. Remember, that saves walk distance, which saves mining time. You don't have to pull the SCV near as quickly as you do for a forward one. And against Terran particularly, I actually agree with this style, as ranged units will be able to take out this wall if they are close, and then you lose production. So against Zerg and Protoss, I actually really like walling off. Making sure that if they have those melee units or almost melee units, such as roaches, you're able to hide inside and stay out of range and engage on your terms. Although against Terran, I've had this happen. You build your wall without scouting your random opponent, figuring, 66% of the chance, 66% of the time, you're going to have that wall be beneficial, and instead it is not, and it comes back to bite you. We do have 3 workers on gas. The orbital command coming in on 15. The 15 orbital command actually sacrifices 1 worker. So we'll see right here, we should see an orbital command now. Wait for it. Wait for it. Nope. Apocalypse leaving me hanging. Okay, there we go. That was the anti-timing. A little bit here. We have a little bit of a worker scuffle. Not going to be a big deal. A supply depot taking a huge 40 damage, almost. But the big thing here, so the big difference between a 15 orbital command and a 16 is you're just cutting a worker to get a mule faster. So it kind of equalizes here in the end, although you're down in the worker count here a little bit. You will see this catching back up now, as he should be able to produce another worker, slipping up there a little bit. And we do see another fast command center, so very exciting. He's throwing it down in the view of his opponents. Very brazen. Usually you wait at least for that to leave, although pyrO, very happy for that free hand down, that free giveaway of information. So he's going to be throwing down his own command center here. Interesting SCV on rally, on patrol. A little bit confused about that. The Reapers here chasing each other around, giggling, having so much fun. This map, so remember I said that Acheron Wastes was a terrible map for Reapers? There is almost no better map in the map pool than Star Station for Reaper harass. Look at how long this cliff is. It's quite amazing, and it allows you to do all sorts of stuff that you should not be able to do, except for on this map. It looks like we do have the Scout. He is going to be taken out by the other Reaper. It's pretty obvious who got that first shot off, and unlike other matchups in 1v1 units, he'll be fresh here in just a moment. Wait for the combat drugs. Look at him go. Glowing green, healing himself like a boss. So the command center just about finished up for pyrO, but is already finished for Apocalypse. So even though they had very similar openings, pyrO was building his command center reactively. So Apocalypse should once again have the economic lead here earlier on in the game. And inexplicably, he has less workers, although he'd continue producing, and that's why he had a later orbital command. We do see Stim coming down first as well, and we have 3 racks. 3 racks on 2 bases, though. Not that dangerous, to be completely honest. With 3 bases, or with 3 racks, that's usually a 1 base all-in strategy, and with 2 bases, you can actually support 6 racks comfortably. 2 racks into 6 racks has been a favorite of mine for a long time, and you can actually do more than that. Good placement here, just knowing that that Reaper was going to be trying to find its way in. These buddies do get some vengeance for their Reaper friend that was taken out by the opposing forces Reaper. Bunker going down, pretty standard. Keep in mind, this choke is actually really narrow. Star Station is a map of very wide open spaces, which make faster units, very, very effective. But also spacing and positioning become huge important factors, particularly in TVTs, as you need to get the vision for the siege tanks. So usually a Viking siege tank, micro battles, and all sorts of fun things. But this is really a very well protected natural. The different thing here is, though, just where you're going to take your third base. This base is much farther forward. It is in a ramp, and look how far away it is from that natural. So you usually see this as the fourth and this as the third. And we'll see if our players decide to keep up with the norm. 2 SCV production for both of these players, I do believe, although pyrO taking quite a big worker lead. Surprised, given the advantage that Apocalypse had in command center timings and an orbital command being a little bit more economic. He's still at a worker disadvantage. So that speaks to the macro of Apocalypse quite well. Not quite as well as pyrO, though. All we can really tell for sure is that pyrO is a little bit better at macro, but maybe not as good at remembering to build supply depots. If I had one thing to say about the series so far, I would say good job to both players. Supply depots for pyrO, and remembering to build SCVs for Apocalypse. That's all I'd say. So we do have, of course, the factory and the starport. No double medevac production as of yet. Spending a little bit of that gas and some of those minerals, getting out some additional barracks. So now we're going to be up to 5 racks, 1 factory, and 1 starport. There we go. 2 medevacs in production. It looks like we will see tanks, or potentially some sort of an upgrade for mines or hellbats, although pretty sure we're not going to see that. So we do see a force heading out. We do have the double medevac production as well, and also a tech lab. So interesting. Both of these players favoring the little bit more reliable and time-tested and approved TVT style. There we go, the Vikings. Although his opponent went for additional medevacs, so he will be able to heal things up, and if these bio units will stay alive, then he should be quite fine. If you can protect the medevacs from those Vikings. But the Vikings not going to be on the field yet, and it looks like, ooh, there's going to be an engagement here. What do we see here? Okay, Stim coming down from Apocalypse. He's trying to corner his opponent here. Remember, there's not near enough, and neither of these players really want to engage. Both forcing full Stims out, and they will be simply rehealed, but that means less energy on the medevacs here later on in the game. Some missile turrets around the outside. This map is unlike Acheron Wastes, where there's huge amounts of space behind here, and so actually I think a turret here would be a little bit better. As turrets right here don't really defend when you can fly way out to the outside. +2 wet armor coming up. Upgrades, we do have +1/+1 for both players, identical upgrades. Command center coming up from pyrO. I like that decision quite very much. He's a little bit on the defensive right now, but with that siege tank here, I love the siege tank placement. It could be a little bit farther forward, in my opinion, though. And a big doom drop. Is it going to be able to land? I do not think so. Instead, getting shot down by all the Marines, and now pyrO has a huge lead coming into this one. Both of those medevacs being taken out, I do believe. And now Apocalypse is actually in quite a world of hurt. He lost a whole bunch of units for almost nothing, and this siege tank is sieged way too far forward. When you're down this far behind, you really need to have some super cost-efficient engagements. And with a siege tank here, you're just not going to be able to defend this area against that number of opposing units. And it looks like pyrO here, knowing that he took out a huge chunk of his opponent's army, is going to be forcing his way across the map. And I think he's going to be able to get there and do a lot of damage before anything is able to be done by Apocalypse. Remember, he is rebuilding, but he's got a pretty decent number of barracks here, and they do almost all have reactors, which means he's able to dump a huge amount of minerals all at the same time. So by the time of the engagement, he should be back to a little over half of his opponent's food. And I just feel like instead he should have built this command center back here, knowing that this attack was likely happening, and chose to put siege tanks back up here, and maybe down here, and defied... Wow. I am tripping all over my tongue, everyone. Sorry about that. That's what I get for working all day and coming home to play and watch more StarCraft. Actually, just watch. I haven't played for a while, which really makes me sad. This base is going to be very, very vulnerable. All the units out of position. This siege tank will likely go down, although it looks like the only thing saving that siege tank is the fact that Apocalypse did not know that there's anything else there. And actually, I feel like Apocalypse actually could have had a really good engagement there. The rest of his army, there's a lot of army value for pyrO sitting back here, and the bio there was actually not very well supported. So this is a little bit delicate of a situation, and he did miraculously hold. I still feel like there would have been better ways to set up for the attack, but it worked, so who am I to preach to the choir? Pretty good medevac count. Didn't lose any of those. That's really important. The Viking count might seem counterintuitive, but you got to keep air superiority, so then you can continue to have a high medevac count, and so then you can engage really well against the other siege tanks, because the Vikings basically serve as scouting, and even sometimes you'll see huge, like 20 Vikings versus 20 Vikings, and a few tanks on the ground and a few Marines, and it's because the Vikings here are so important to giving vision to those siege tanks that can shoot farther than they can see. So here in terms of economy, pyrO still has a good worker lead. He is still producing 3 SCVs at a time. I'd love to see some additional SCV production out of Apocalypse, although it looks like he's stopped that for a little while. And he will be unsupply blocked here once this command center finishes. So everything stabilizing again, although still pyrO's got a big advantage, and now he's starting to take more of that army with him. So should continue to do a little bit well. We do have some additional barracks on their way, so he's going to be able to make sure he's spending that. Excellent job, both of these players, keeping their money low throughout the game, and not queuing tons, or at least I don't think queuing tons. Look at that. So lean. Excellent macro. A few extra ones there. It's fine. He's just about maxed. There goes the last supply depot. He is completely maxed. He does have the upgrade advantage and the army size advantage. So really, this is going to need to be a miracle defense from Apocalypse. He's now approaching max. I mean, he's up to 160. This could be good, but I think the siege tank placement's just a little bit out of whack. And he has no way of getting additional vision without spending all of his comm scans, and he needs those to get back and continue to produce out of those 5 barracks with reactors. He needs the minerals, so he needs that energy. Looks like he's going to be calling all of those probed SCVs. Oh, he's going to run right into the lines. That's a terrible idea. So the choke, he's not continuing to micro forward. These siege tanks need to siege up right now. The SCVs trying to tank damage, but they are in the back, not able to be useful. A big line here. The siege tanks did not engage, and that's actually, I think, going to be game over for Apocalypse. I think that was a little bit of brash, seeing those siege tanks and how they were not protected immediately by those Marines meant that he did have the ability to walk in and snipe them, although I don't think that required his entire army. I think that could have been a 2 or 3, maybe a few Marauders, maybe a medevac and a drop right on top of them. Just to suicide in and go ahead and take that out. I do agree with the concept. I just think the execution with pulling all the workers, all of them being in the back, and then your siege tanks not sieging up was a bit of a blunder, and pyrO taking advantage of that and now going back up 2-1 in this set of 5 in the MSL Code S Semifinals. So here, just get a little bit ready. Wow, my tang is tangled all over the place, but we're going to be back here with Game 4 in just a moment.